Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Breakfast At. We are here at Josiah's Coffee House and Cafe, and I am with an awesome person to whom I am so grateful I finally sit down with and have breakfast. Micheal Middlen. I wanted to just have this opportunity because he is also somebody who I've connected with as an artist. Some amazing things that he's putting together in his own creative exploration with it. So thank you for joining me today. This is an awesome opportunity. Grateful to have you here. Grateful to have you. Before we dive in, I'd like to start with the first question. And if you had to pick one meal that reminded you of home, what would that be?
As funny as this might sound.
That's always good.
So growing up, my brother would only eat McDonald's. So my mom didn't make a lot of home-cooked meals. Otherwise, he just wouldn't eat. But the one that I always remember her making was goulash.
You know, I feel like goulash is it's unique to everyone, but everybody has a goulash of some sort. Because I have a goulash as well. My parents have a goulash as well. And I didn't know that it was a thing that everybody shared. What would you say your goulash was? Do you remember like the ingredients? Do you remember what the taste? What was unique about it for you?
I think it was just noodles, burger with maybe a little bit of onion, and some sauce.
Okay, no.
So it's pretty basic.
Yeah, no, that's funny. Yep, that's it. That's about exactly what it was. Okay, that's awesome to hear. Well, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Food is, again, breakfast for me is a big deal, and that's a lot of the reason why I'm having this the way that we do. But, food has a big part in people's lives as much as breakfast, I think, if nothing else. But to hear the amount of foods, the types of foods that people have or have had experienced in their life, I feel like it get a unique opportunity to connect with people when you hear about what they've eaten and just like the things that they've grown up on. Thank you for that. It's goulash. For those of you who like goulash, who have goulash, I'd love to hear what type of goulash you had, what that food looked like for you. It would be awesome. You could send that down in the comments, I guess. We could have a conversation about it. All right. Micheal, are you ready? We're going to dive in.
Let's do it.
Growing up in Sioux Falls, you found joy in art, fishing, and skateboarding, which is a good connection between you and I. What lessons about finding peace or joy do you carry with you from those early interests in those days and today?
Man, so I think the biggest lesson that I carry from that, especially in a world where it's like approval-based acceptance, is these are things that are done independently. You can do them as a group or with other people, but it's not like seeking that validation from a large group of people or from other people. You have to find that from yourself, knowing that what you're doing is either impactful, making a difference, or that that it's good. I think when I first started doing the shoes, especially in this day and age with social media, I do a post, and I'm like, well, it didn't get very many likes or didn't get very many views. I was like, nobody cares. Why isn't it good?
Right.
But I had to remove that from that and just know that I'm competing with myself. So I'm just trying to beat the shoe that I did before, the piece of art that I did before, and I'm just trying to continually up that level.
Right.
And just bring more quality and just more to it the next time. So just keep building on what I've already done.
Yeah.
I think the biggest lesson would just be finding that acceptance and that approval from yourself, man, and that's hard to do.
The competing with yourself. You said that you have to be. You're pretty much competing you and not everybody else. Why? What is it about feeding off of the likes and the things that other people and their responses? What is it about that makes it so difficult? Because at least I know on my end, I feel like if I'm watching and looking out for other people and their responses in the creative endeavor, I feel like I'm almost going to always be let down.
Yeah, and you will. So, for example, I recently started working with an entrepreneur that's developing a different shoe paint. It's So the current industry is using acrylic paints.
Okay.
This guy's paints are urethane based. I would consider it the difference between like acrylic and oil on canvas. So
Okay.
the urethanes stay way more bright after they're dry. They're more vibrant. So I know that there's some other people that he's working with to help develop this product, and I was thinking, I'm like wanting to reach out to him to see what they're doing with it. But if I'm watching what they're doing, now I'm comparing myself to them, and I'm not competing with myself anymore. So I just need to look at what I'm doing, the shoes that I'm creating, how I can make that better, how I can up the quality, and just how I can bring more to the work. I like to put myself down. We're our own worst critics. So if I'm comparing myself to somebody else, now they're better than me, I'm not doing good enough, I'm going to try and compete with them. That's just a losing battle, you know what I mean?
It's true.
And then kind of also outside of that, dude, it's hard to get people to move their finger to push the like.
Yeah, weirdly enough, even though we think that most people enjoy it, or we hope that they enjoy and like what we're doing, they're not as susceptible. Like, you know what? Yeah, I'll support you. Put a like down, and it's just a thumbs up. It's so hard.
Well, and that's the other thing too. As creators, we know the importance of the engagement with the content. So, more likes, more engagement, more view time. That all pushes that up in the algorithm. But as just an average person on social media, like, you don't really realize that. So I have people all the time that I'll encounter on the street, and they're like, "Oh, I love your stuff. I see it all the time." But I never see them on the likes. I never see them in the comments. But that's fine too. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, that's
So I would say overall, what I really started to notice. So when I started doing my custom shoes, I thought I'd be reaching younger adults and doing customs for younger adults.
Yeah.
I started getting a lot of businesses and a lot of nonprofits,
which is awesome, by the way. I think that is a really remarkable connection that businesses and organizations, nonprofits are the ones that are reaching out to you because they want custom shoes. They see the benefit in what you're creating.
Well, it's cool, It's like the new business card in a way. Like, it's out in front of people every day.
Yeah,
it's different. It's unique. You can get exactly what you want.
Yeah,
everything's a one of one. But I was pulling jobs off of my content that had the least amount of engagement. So that's where I started to change my perspective. So, I could have 10,000 views and not get one job, or I could have 10 views and get 2 jobs, and I would rather have the 10 views and 2 jobs than the 10,000 and no jobs.
I see.
So I may be getting less views, less engagement, but my target audience isn't the ones that are just flipping through there, scrolling, liking everything. You know what I mean? Those aren't my clients. So it was changing that perspective and finding my target audience, and so those are the people that I'm trying to appeal to.
What the artwork that you're doing is, I think, one of the most unique dives into, because as you said, it's like a business card. Please, dive in, get some food. You have a business card that you are creating that is it's not a business card that you pull from that was printed from Vista Prints and you just, hey, this is one of 500 different, business cards that I'm presenting. No, it's like I have a very unique style business card. It's the one thing that's there, and it is unique to that business themselves, and they're the only ones that are going to have that. And nobody else is going to have that. And that in its own right is like, now I can look at every other business and be like, oh, this is the card that he made for these guys. Bless you. This is the bless you. This is the card that he made for these guys. Bless you again. But it's still your art. It's still your contribution to that business, so to speak. And you've taken the time to understand who they are, what they're looking for, and it's almost like you've been able to create and draw out a personality for them in a weird way by just looking at all of those things and then presenting to them here. And it sounds like the things that you are finding more success in, especially with the shoe creation, is the organic stuff, which it says a lot because, man, I know that as a creator, some of the hardest things that people probably trying to just start doing the thing is like, nobody likes what I'm doing. Why am I not getting any likes on this? Why are nobody commenting on it? Or why is it not getting a lot of traction? And we forget that it takes time. Big businesses that ever started or ever became anything were out for decades before it was like, oh my, and then maybe you get the sports player or the athlete or the famous, that puts the kicks on the what is it, the Mecca, or that's the what's that? It's the art show, the gala, some kind of gala that they do, and you're just kind of watching, and then you get blown up that way. But for the most part, it just definitely seems like it's very. If you're not persistent in doing it for what you enjoy.
Yeah, well, I think that's the thing, is I had to learn to fall in love with the process. Mm-hmm. So I knew the end result that I wanted to have, and sometimes that didn't always turn out that way. Because I spent a couple years before I ever brought it publicly to make sure that, because I wanted my customs to be wearable.
Okay.
So
which is a big deal.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff you see online, man, honestly, you could maybe get 5-10 wears out of it, and the paint's gonna be cracking, it's gonna be coming off. They come with a bunch of wear restrictions in the instructions when you receive the shoe.
Did not know that.
Yes.
Wow.
So, and I've gone through several different customizers, website and agreements, and it's right in there. It's wearable art. Whatever you do with it after you receive it, it's kind of your responsibility, your fault if it doesn't last or if it fails.
Right.
And I wanted to remove that. I want people to be able to wear them as often as possible.
Yeah.
They're paying good money for it, and to have it sit on a shelf, man, and nobody see it. I just didn't see the point.
That's not what a shoe is for.
Yeah.
No, I feel that.
And kind of diving into a little bit of what you're talking about, getting your one big break. A lot of people see that overnight success and they're like, oh man, that guy's lucky or that guy made it. But what they're not seeing is the 5 or 8 or 10 years of just this baseline nothing where you're just grinding it out. And all of a sudden you hit that, and that's what people see is that spike, and you're all over social media, you're all over here, you're all over there. It's a lot of long, lonely nights and the hard grinds, and everybody's out partying or having fun, and you're sitting there trying to figure out your craft.
Somebody said it was like a loading bar. It's a loading bar until you get it. It's a loading bar waiting to get to the finish, and then once it loads, it's like 100%. It's up, and you're there, and it's such a. It's weird that we don't. It's strange that up until lately, it seems we hadn't really taught how to appreciate the process. We hadn't really seen a lot of people appreciating the process. And so it's refreshing to hear you say that, because I agree. I think being able to sit through the process, I have to learn how to enjoy editing video. I have to learn and love how to enjoy sitting at the computer in post and going through it, and the fun of like being meticulous about the scenes and the cutting and the editing and all of that, and where this transition goes in and where this cut goes in, where those things fall into play. Because if I don't, what am I doing it for? I'm going to hate it halfway through it, and but to hear that you have a shoe that isn't just art but it's wearable, to me speaks a lot, because again, it's like most artwork that we know of is something you paint and it gets put up on the wall, and after that you may not ever see it again unless you're over at the person's house.
Yeah.
And then then you get to sit and like, oh look, that's awesome, and so okay, cool. But then to be able to see it on somebody's feet on a regular basis is such an amazing thing, because then it means you're making shoes that people can wear and enjoy, and it's theirs. And then then I guess it's how well they protect them, how well they keep them sit. That's pretty. that's awesome. Yeah, dude, I love that. Okay, we'll go on to the next one. You mentioned knowing you were adopted from a young age, and I was curious, how did this knowledge influence your understanding of family and belonging, and what insights could this offer others navigating this experience as well?
I guess just knowing like as young as I can remember, I always knew.
Okay.
And I think my parents, like you're saying, did that out of love, so that I wouldn't just all of a sudden one day find out and just like have this shocking experience.
It's great on them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Man.
And adoption worked a little different back then. They would look at your birth parents' kind of characteristics, how you looked, and then they would try and pair you up with parents so that nobody would be able to tell that you were the odd one out. That's totally different today.
Yeah.
So I think knowing that growing up, and then I have two younger brothers. So originally my mom just didn't think she could get pregnant. So they adopted me, and then right after that I had two more brothers. So I think that knowing that and just how my family operated with that, I never felt like I was out.
Right.
I always felt love, always felt accepted. Where it got kind of weird is I just had different interests than they did. You know what I mean? So, like, I'm into art, skateboarding, snowboarding, and like
He's definitely not.
and fishing, and like my dad just he would take me, but I knew he didn't like fishing. You know what I mean? It's just not his thing. But
That's funny.
but I give him a lot of credit for doing that.
Sticking it out. Yeah.
Yeah, my mom, she was great at helping take care of my interests and making sure that I always got somewhere. I remember her taking me down to Cobble Lake, and dude, I got grounded from fishing when I was 6 years old because I wouldn't come in off the dock. I was out there from 6 in the morning and finally at 2:30 in the afternoon because I wouldn't eat. I wouldn't eat breakfast. I wouldn't eat lunch. Finally at 2:30 they took the fishing pole. And, spend more time with people and eat.
Get some food, some nourishment.
Yeah. Otherwise, dude, I'd stay out there until the sun went down. You know what I mean?
I don't think I've ever met anyone who got grounded for fishing.
Yeah,
That's amazing. To be, I mean, just the ability to endure the sitting in silence and some of just that. That is wild. Okay,
but,
so you really love fishing. That was a big part of your life.
And I think the bigger part of that is my mom would. So when she would take me to Cobble Lake, she'd sit out there all day until I was ready to go. I don't know if I could do that, to be honest with you. So, my parents were great at trying to help me, feed those interests and help build those. So.
That's awesome. Was there ever like the notion, aside from like maybe I'll meet my real family or my real parents at some point in time?
So I had when I was probably in my late 20s. There's kind of been times where I've poked around at it. So the adoption records are sealed. You have to go in front of a judge and get all that going, and then there's a court hearing, and then they'll reveal to you who your parents are. Like I said, there's a few times that I poked around at it. Growing up, I ended up getting myself into a lot of legal problems. So I had a lot going on already. So it's not something that I was able to stay consistent or persistent in.
I see.
I did put in a request that if my birth parents were searching for me, that they could have that information.
I see. Okay.
But I don't think that that's something that's going to happen unless if I'm actively seeking.
I see.
And then at this point, now I'm 45, I feel like life's slipped by for that opportunity, but that's just probably bad thinking, you know what I mean?
That's fair. And I mean, it's weirdly enough, I don't imagine it has to be. If you were compelled to, if it was a thing that was meant to be, probably would have already. And I guess it's hard to throw that out there and really know, because even in the same end, it's like there are people in my family that I haven't really had the opportunity to go and search out for it. But there are those who I have, and the connection and communication is still kind of, there's still a void, a gap between it, But I appreciate you sharing that. I know those little parts about us are always difficult sometimes because it's really close. It's close to heart as it can get. Bless you. And it's always difficult to share those things. It can be tough, but no, I appreciate it. Reflecting on your teenage years, what was one of the most significant lessons you learned from becoming a father so young?
I thought at that age that I just like knew everything, dude. And I'm like, my parents are dumb. They don't know what they're talking about. They're old fashioned. And man, I even look at kids that are in like college now, and I'm not even out of high school, and I'm expecting my first daughter, and I'm like, dude, I was a kid. Um, that was very difficult. I moved out of my parents' house when I was 17. Wasn't even graduated. I was like halfway through my senior year.
Oh wow!
Moved out, got my own apartment. Had to get emancipated so that I could excuse myself from school. I was getting like detention and ISS all the time, and I could not understand why. And I wasn't allowed to excuse myself for appointments. I had the school counselor emancipate. My mom was upset that I had all this stuff going on, obviously.
Okay. Yeah.
And I think as a parent, when your kids are having trouble, you tend to blame yourself. And I think a lot of that for my mom was she felt like she failed me. But I've tried to, dude, my choices are my choices. There's nothing that anybody could have said or done to make that any different.
I respect that. That's real thing.
So when I got emancipated, I think that really hurt her. It's kind of like, well, it's just this cutting off or cutting away, and I was just like the relationship overall with my girlfriend. It just wasn't. It's not healthy. You know what I mean? So and then being so young, we're moved out. We're expecting a child. Dude, we didn't know what we were doing. You know what I mean? So, man, I think the biggest thing that I would take away from all that is, man, I'm extremely grateful for my children. I just feel like being so young and just all the complications and all the problems, I did try hard to see them. I even had to take my child of my mother, or mother of my children, to court to be able to see them, things like that. So I did make an effort, but maybe I could have made more of an effort to really hold that connection with them and have a strong bond. It's tough in South Dakota, man. Without legal rights, you're just kind of at the mercy of other person. So
would you say it is more difficult in this state for dads than it is for moms?
Absolutely.
I know that's a touchy subject, but I've heard that is a big factor, part of why a lot of dads who are good fathers struggle with being able to find the connections with their kids that they seek, because it is a mom-driven state in a sense where,
Well, yeah, and so I'm real careful in this area because I want to take accountability for where I'm responsible. So,
Respect.
There's some choices that I made in my life that did affect my relationship with my children.
Mm-hmm.
But there's some things that were way out of my control, and I just there's nothing I could do. I did everything that I could. For example, I have a 12-year-old daughter. Caught wind that her mom was going to leave town. So I called child support, and they really can't help me. They don't do any of the legal stuff.
I see.
At that time, I was out of work, so this was just recently. This November.
Okay.
I started running into medical issues around then, and then I was unable to work for over 3 months. So I don't have money for a lawyer. So I got all the information I needed, filed all the papers that I needed to have her served and get all that going forward. And then she was lying about her identity, about who she was. The process server showed up, and she's like, "No, I'm not that person. I only rent from them."
Oh, wow.
And they left town.
Yeah.
Well, there's nothing I can really do at this current point in time because I don't have legal rights. So my name's on the birth certificate. There's no contest that I'm not the father.
I see.
I'm paying child support.
Yeah.
But I have no legal right to my daughter. So her mom can kind of do whatever she wants.
Yeah.
So they left town, and I've heard kind of reports where they might be, but I don't know where they are. Now, for me to get everything moving to somebody's got to go find her, somebody's got to serve her, somebody's got to bring her back here. The judge has to hear the case. This is a long process now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. A lot of elements that have to fall into place for that to happen. Yeah.
Well, and where this is goofy to me is the mom can go down to child support and have child support issued on me, and they'll just start garnishing my check like right away. in order for me to be able to say, oh, you can't leave the state, I have to have a judge order that I'm the paternal father. But there's not that on the other end of things. So if I wanted to contest paternity, as far as child support was concerned, I would have to file a court case, go to court, have a paternity test. So it just seems, and I get it, man. These laws are probably made because there's a lot of deadbeat dads out there, but I've always tried to maintain or have a relationship with my children. It's just some of the mothers that I have had relationships with are very difficult, and it's just they're using them as leverage to hurt me. But it's hurting the children, and a lot of that did hurt me in the beginning. I think a lot of that fueled my addictions that I had when I was younger.
Sure. Yeah.
That hurts, man. There's like an empty place there, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So I would fill that with other things, and but what the moms aren't saying is like the daughter needs her father. I don't care like what you think, what you say. Daughter needs her father, and to think that kids only need one parent is absolutely insane.
Yeah. No, that's something and they keep showing the studies that prove that, kids without father, without both parents present, does create significant challenges for the kid, for their development, and just their overall potential outcome. It is shown, and they keep showing it, and why we keep making it more and more difficult, I don't know, but maybe it is because there were some people who just weren't stepping up to do anything. But it does seem like it could use a little bit of a revamp. In some degree. It does.
Well, this is something I'm just not currently in the position, but this is something that's pushing me into like honestly considering looking into that and getting something moving in that direction for fathers.
Right. That's admirable. And I'm not a dad yet, but I could imagine it's not easy. I've been in between my parents and the conflict between them and me, and have seen how that kind of causes the strife that it does, So yeah, I can only imagine. You describe tension with your mother during adolescence. Looking back now, what do you understand differently about family conflict and reconciliation?
I would say the biggest thing is sometimes being right is wrong.
Well said.
There's been some things just don't need to be said. You know what I mean? I caused a lot of problems when I was younger, and my mom had every right to be upset with me. Now being older, there's just some things that I know from my own experience or whatever, and there's been times where I'm like, well, I know I'm right, I know she's wrong, and I'll push that, and seeing the hurt that causes, sometimes it's just better to just be silently right, because being right can be wrong, man.
How do you practice that? Because I understand what you mean. But is it just having the grace of accepting, like, hey, I know that my wanting to be right in this is going to worsen the situation. What are some things how do you see it? And how would you say you practice that?
So I would say the value of the relationship is greater than me being right.
Okay.
And then kind of getting a little deeper into that. So, like I said, I had a rough life. At a certain point in life, God revealed himself to me. Jesus saved me. In Proverbs, it says, even a fool, and this is kind of me paraphrasing.
Sure.
But it says, even a fool's deemed wise, by keeping their mouth shut. So sometimes, man, and what's funny is, I've had people in my life validate these scriptures. So, like, the last time I was on vacation with my parents, they're all bickering amongst each other, and my mom's like, "You're so wise." She's like, "You just keep your mouth shut." And I'm like, "That's in scripture. That's in Proverbs." So,
thanks for the validation.
It holds true.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so it almost by its own right, it's shown why the effort in that regard is beneficial. It's almost in a sense you never really have to fight it. It's revealed to you on its own that these are benefits that help not just you but the environment, the relationships that you're in. Huh.
Well, and to engage in that stuff, like, man, it just creates this anxiety,
Yeah.
this tension,
Yeah.
and like I said, man, lots of times it can be very difficult, especially when emotions are running high. But it's like you have to hold that and separate it,
Yeah.
and just know that the value of the relationship is far greater
It's far more.
than what proving your point.
Yeah. Proving a point is it only satisfies the ego inside. It doesn't satisfy the relationship.
Yeah.
We're all fighting, vying for it. Thank you for that one, because I think that's something myself. I'm working on recognizing, like you said, that I don't have to be being right is irrelevant if it destroys or undermines the strength of a relationship, if it makes anybody else feel inferior in the relationship, and any inferiority of self diminishes the depth and quality or potential of that relationship in a way. And if you're not cautious, if you're not well off enough to recognize that, or at least within yourself not secure enough to recognize that, you can destroy that pretty quick.
Well, and I think you bring up a good point, and what I've been coming to realize is a lot of that, having to prove yourself or validate yourself, like that comes from a place of not being secure with yourself. So that it's a place of insecurity where this desire, the need for that is coming from. So that's like the root of it.
Oh, check yourself, folks. Check yourself. I'm checking myself too. It's all right. When you experienced your first encounter with substances, you mentioned that it felt like filling a void. How does this help How does this help your understanding now what young people might be missing or searching for today?
So this just sounds super cliche, but man, everybody's searching for something.
Indeed.
And I always thought that I found it like in drugs or in alcohol or in a relationship or in a job title or in a salary. It's like, oh, I finally made it. But those things are all temporary, and that feeling goes away. What I mean? And that's where addictions are created, because it's like it was temporary relief. It was a temporary satisfaction.
Yeah.
It's like, so now I got to go back. I need that again. I need it again.
Right. Need that hit. Felt good. I want it again.
And and we were talking about performance-based acceptance, validation, approval. We're seeking that from external sources. After I became saved, I realized that everything that I was looking for was found in Him, and that's where I say it sounds cliche. You know what I mean? But it's the truth, and I can't escape that.
Yeah.
And if I told you anything else, it'd be a lie. So God's filled that. My identity's in Christ. So God accepted me before I did anything, man. Like when I was saved, dude, I wasn't in a church. I hadn't been to church in over 20 years.
Yeah.
I was in an apartment all by myself, and dude, I had drugs everywhere. And I just arrived at the point where I accepted this is what my life had become. And I blew it, and there was nothing else for me. There was no other chance, no other opportunity. And I just remember looking back on my life, and I was like, man, most of my friends from high school, they're doctors, lawyers, business owners. And I was like, I'm just a drug addicted nobody that can't even keep himself out of jail. And from where I was sitting at that time, I was 38 years old, and I was like, my life's over, I blew it. And it's about a week before I'm having all these thoughts, this guy that lived below me just came up to my apartment and asked if he could come in.
Yeah.
Didn't say a word, dude. He just walked straight to my dresser, started looking through these pictures, got to the end, and he's like, are these your kids? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, brother, all you got to do is ask Jesus Christ sincerely and truthfully from the bottom of your heart, and you'll be forgiven. Don't you want that? Don't you want to save your kids?
Yeah.
And he set the pictures down, and he walked out. And I thought that was the stupidest thing I'd ever heard in my life. I was just like, that's not going to work. I was like, you don't even know me, dude. You know what I mean?
You don't know me.
Yeah, that was the lowest point in my life.
Yeah.
And I had been using hard drugs for so long at that point. I didn't know. I was using it just to function normally. And, I wasn't getting high anymore. It was just so I could, go get up and go to work and think as clearly as I could, I guess.
Right.
And I was just like, that's not going to work. And I was actually offended by it. And
that's fair.
Yeah,
it's like it's abrupt.
And
oh man,
so like I said, it was a week later. I'm reevaluating my life.
Yeah.
And I remember it was 3 a.m, and I just could not get those words out of my head. And I just figured I would try it. And I just confessed all the stuff that I felt was the most wrong. And dude, I think the biggest part of that, though, was the first time I was honest with myself. I stopped blaming other people for my life, man. My life was a result of all my own decisions and all my own choices, and that's why it was a result of all that. And that's why I was where I was at. And it was my fault, dude. It was my doing.
Some choices that you had to reconcile with on your own that you made.
And man, at the end of all that, I asked for that forgiveness, and I said that I wanted a new life.
Yeah.
And like I said, I had drugs in my apartment. I had and I don't mean to dog on any religion, but I just had had a Catholic upbringing, so I had the Catholic idea of confession. So it's you confess and then you're good to go.
Right.
So
yeah.
I had no intention on changing any of the stuff I was doing. But God had different plans, man.
Sorry if you were busy.
Yeah. And dude, the next, I would say 14 to 16 hours, God just revealed himself to me in incredibly undeniable ways, and coming through that experience, he freed me from my addictions.
Dude, that's such a, and I gotta say it because it's one of those things, lately, since I've been doing this, and mind you, I've never been the biggest religious person, but I grew up in it. My mom grew up Catholic, my grandmother was Catholic, and I grew up non-denominational Christian. And I walked away from it when I was 10 because what I was dealing with didn't reflect what I was being told. What I saw wasn't really being the thing, and I had a lot of questions. And every time I went out searching for those questions, there were more and more questions.
Sure.
That weren't, anytime I found some modicum of an answer, there was more questions I was left with. But every single time lately that I have connected with people who've come from these places, it just seems to always bring me closer and closer to what I would have considered a foundation that was always there. I always told people I had this relationship to something because I was always talking aloud or in my head to something, there was always there. And it was the weirdest thing that if I look back, I can at least accept that there was always some form of acknowledgement to the things I was talking in what I was communicating. It was never, direct. It was never words, but it was very much there was something.
Yep.
But I didn't have the insight and understanding of I was not, I didn't have the grace to sit and recognize it. I was definitely ego-driven at that point because I was still a kid, didn't know any better. But to hear people express that there are these things that they have found that have saved them from, and to hear that, there's this thing that you recognize for yourself that yep, this is what brought me out of it to help me see, to be able to be in this state that I'm in now. God, that just it brings me chills, man, every time. So I appreciate you sharing that, because the thing that I think saved me in a lot of ways in getting closer to God in whatever form that is, at least in my experience as of late, has been the acceptance that I had to take account for a lot of my choices. I had to accept that I had made a lot of poor choices. I had to reconcile with the fact that, I wasn't on a path that I said internally, or at least in my heart, that I wanted to be on. And if I wasn't, well, why? And if I looked at it, it's because I'm not doing the things that I said I wanted to do. I'm not acting in those ways. I'm not really presenting myself in those ways. And it was hard because, man, to look back at my past and like really reflect on it, that hurt. It hurt. And I always feel like the reason why we have less people doing that is because of that pain. And to say being at 30, or to say at least at 38, you said that you at that point were like, yeah, that's it. Like, there's nothing else. But that wasn't the case. But it took that effort for somebody to come into your life and drop a gem like that. For you to be like, wait a minute, is there more? there is more. Because people, I don't imagine it's easy. The old dog, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. That old saying. But it's like, but if that old dog could look at their past and reflect on the things, maybe they could.
Well, and I think the biggest thing is so God knew how to reach me in that moment. The way that He got me is with my children.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have done that for myself, and He knew that. So by dropping that in there, don't you want that? Don't you want to save your kids? That was enough to motivate me to do it. Otherwise, to me and in my eyes, and like, dude, I never considered myself worth it. And I treated myself that way. And a lot of that comes from the foundational beliefs that we develop as we're growing up from how other people treat us. So, other people kept showing me in my life, girlfriends, people that said they loved me and cared about me. They kept showing me repeatedly that you're not worth it. You're not special. You're nothing. You're nobody. And some of that was validated by words, you know what I mean? So we developed this foundational belief system, and then we're operating out of that, and we don't even know it. A lot of that's just subconscious beliefs that we hold about ourselves that come from experience.
Dictate the outcomes of interactions and the outcomes of even as simple as an interview at a job. And your willingness to step up and even apply for the job is based off of the belief you have for yourself.
Yep.
Oh, man.
And so it took, and that's really where I would say God, and through the Holy Spirit's been really working on me in that area. It's tearing down these false beliefs, starting on a smooth, firm foundation, and building back up from there. And that's where like a lot of this. So what He did for me is He freed me from all the things that had me in bondage, that held me in chains, and now I'm free to be able to do what I want. Right. So a lot of that's coming out through the expression of art.
Yeah.
I gave up on that, man. Like I remember when I was 17, I was just like, I want to be an artist. Yeah. But I have, we have a kid on the way and all this stuff, and the world will teach you go get a regular job, get some of the 401k benefits, 9 to 5.
That's exactly what they'll tell you.
And so that's what I did, and I was just like, art's fine or whatever, but I just gave up on that dream. And that's actually leading me into how I met you. Is I just started painting again, man. I felt God was really pulling me into that space, and I just happened to be at the art store that day, and this girl just started asking me weird questions. She's like, are you a tattoo artist? And like all this stuff, and finally I'm just like, what are you trying to ask me? She's like, well, do you do art? And I told her yes. And she's like, well, if you bring some paintings down here right now, we'll put them in our art show. And that was for the first Fridays downtown here. And just started doing that out of that gallery every week, or every month, I should say.
I remember when Sam brought you in, and like I saw some of your artwork, dude, and I mean, it was immediate. I saw it, and I can understand why people would mistake you as a tattoo artist, because your style, at least at that time, was in that realm. I would have been like, yeah, that would have been a tattoo for sure that I would have been happy to get. But I remember just how visceral your art pieces looked, how detailed the depth that you would go in them, and just the feelings that were coming from them. And that to me was immediate. And so it was, to me, I recognized that you were somebody who, we obviously didn't dive this far into your past and some of the things that at the time were maybe ailing you, but I just remember that like I always wanted to see you doing more art, and I know that was the hard part for you at the time. And it was like every opportunity I could, I'm like, dude, where's the next art piece? Like, what do you got going on? What are you drawing? Are you coming out? You doing the thing? Because man, so yeah, to see where you are now is huge for me too. Because I'm grateful to at least have been a part of some of that journey, and to see like this now. Because I'm like in my head, I'm like I knew you could do the thing, right? But it's like it doesn't matter to me. It's like you had to see it for yourself.
I had to believe it. Yep.
Yeah, and yeah.
Well, and that's because I remember I just kind of I picked it up again. So when I stopped painting, I had bought, so I'm like 17, and I bought tons of canvases and a bunch of oil paints, and then I put them in my mom's cellar, and I never touched them. So when I started painting again, that's where I picked up, is where I left off. I'm like, I need to check out these oils. Dude, first 2 oil paintings were just mud, you know what I mean?
It's easy oil. Yeah. Oh man.
But I started to learn how to work with the paint, got better with it. And I just remember like always thinking maybe this would be something to do full time. But I thought having a commission or somebody, a piece that they wanted hanging over my head, I'm like, well, that might take the joy or the fun out of it. You know what I mean?
As they say, yep. It's not creative for you, it's creative for somebody else.
Yeah. So for, I'd say probably like 5 years, I kind of wrestled with that. And I'd paint my free time when I was at home or on the weekend. And then when I started doing the shoes, I just remember like how I started going online with it is I went through a breakup, and I was just kind of feeling less than. So I'm like, I'm looking for that validation, that approval. So somebody would be like, oh, nice job. You know what I mean?
Something.
So I just started posting my paintings and the shoes that I was doing online.
Yeah.
I did that for like a year, and I knew that I wanted to start doing this, but I just didn't really. I should back up. I didn't know how to start because I had started a business when I was in my 20s. I had a construction company. Didn't have social media back then.
No.
Not like it is today.
No.
So what I had to do then is I cold called people for 2 weeks. And some of the people, so my mom is a realtor, she gave me a Home Builders Association book, and I just went through that book from front to back for 2 weeks and called home builders, starting with the A's all the way to if there was a Z, you know? And man, some of those people were so rude, and they were just jerks, and just like super humbling, discouraging experience, you know?
Yeah.
And, my dad is in sales, so I just remember asking him, and he'd be getting new clients all the time. He'd like lead his region in sales.
Yeah.
I'm just like, what do you do?
Yeah.
And he's like, ask them what their current problem is with the person that they have. And it was worded better than that, but I called this guy, and I was just like, what issues do you have with your current roofer? And he's like, well, the guy doesn't show up. He's like, I've had 2 houses sitting for over a week, and the guy keeps telling me he's coming, he doesn't come. And that was all I needed. And so I got in that way. So I took that same approach with the shoes. I just ran my shoes and my art in my Facebook and Instagram story, dude, probably for over a year. Probably right about a year.
Yeah.
So dude, for the longest time, I had like 5 to 7 people. That's all that would see it, you know?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden one day, this lady messages me, and she's like, how do I order? And that was a shoe for Celebrate Church for their 25-year anniversary.
Wow.
And from there, that's where things started to pick up. And then I would say last February, I very clearly heard God call me into that space. He's just like, this is what I want you to do. Essentially, I'm going to give you your dream.
Yeah.
And I just had to be willing to step into that and take that chance.
Right.
So, and now, dude, I would say he's brought me into a space where it's bigger than me. Like, I know that I can't rely on myself to do this, so it's brought me in a place where I have to be fully dependent and trusting in him. So, and man, like, when I would say from my own experience, when I step in with him, things just go like that. It's just like boom. It's like you're on a jet.
Yeah. Hyper, like it just. Yep.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, this is going a little quick for me, but I just have to trust that it's going to be okay. And like I said, man, I have to stop focusing on what other people are saying, what other people are doing, and I mean that in the sense of seeking that validation or that approval. And I just have to focus on what I'm doing, and like I said, just trying to push myself just a little farther every time. So,
thank you for sharing that story. My God, that dude, the things that I recognize and remember in you, and seeing some of this. This is why we're here. This is why we do this, because to be able to have that level of connection, be able to now more than ever, if nothing else, be able to recognize and see the things that you were going through, to hear the conflicts that you were going through that kept you from doing the thing. We don't know. We never know until we have the opportunity, until the person themselves, or we are in a space where somebody's willing to communicate those things. But I feel like we hardly have enough spaces like that to be able to do it. Because had I don't want to say that had I known any sooner, I would have been any different. I might not have been, and I have to accept that. It's possible it might not have been any different. But I'm grateful for that, because, man, that to hear it now, I feel like the journey that I've gotten to watch, I'm so much more in support of now. And not that I wasn't, but it validates so much more of why you've been pushing what you've been doing, why you've been doing it. You found your why a long time ago, and you've been embodying it, and you've been sticking to it, and you've been holding true to that. And God, that's a testament to anything. It's just what comes from all of that just your resolve in. So yeah, no, I thank you for that, man, because that's a big deal. Not a lot of people get that type of revelation. Not a lot of people get that type of those opportunities to see it for themselves.
Yeah, and I think the bigger part, you're saying in the beginning, and I would have disagreed with you if you told me that then, but I can see it now. I wasn't confident in myself or my ability. I couldn't see it.
Yeah.
And so it's that dialogue that we're telling ourselves. I'd bring my pieces in, and then I'm looking at everybody else's art, and I'm like, well, mine's not good enough. But if you keep telling yourself, I'm not good enough, I'm not this, I'm not that, dude, you're never going to start. And you'll never be good enough. And I really learned that when I was doing that shoot for Celebrate. It's all this was pretty much brand new for me. I'm learning as I'm going.
Right.
Learning to sew by hand, and I'm doing all this stuff. And I remember running into some complications, and I'm sitting there, and I'm realizing I'm telling myself repeatedly over and over again, I can't do it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I need to stop telling myself that. And so I started to change it to I can.
Yeah.
Or I will, I haven't figured it out yet. And when I started changing that dialogue, dude, and I started telling myself I can and I will, dude, everything changed.
I need you to know I am so grateful for you to the comment that you left on that post, because when I finally, I think, got to that point, and your response solidified it, and to hear the story now emphasizes more of that, because it's same where you realize the things that we tell ourselves are the things that destroy us or build us. And if I'm destroying myself, especially in an environment where I'm learning as I'm going, but I know that if I stick the process out and I keep building and I keep focusing on it, I'm gonna get it. It's how I'm communicating to myself throughout that process that dictates the outcome.
Absolutely, 100%.
God, that's crazy. Well, we're going to take a break. And we will be back on another episode of Breakfast At. And welcome back to another episode of Breakfast At. We just got back from our break. Here with Micheal Middlen. We just got done diving into some of his earlier days, some serious experiences, some serious life lessons. We're going to dive into it a little bit more. It's going to get a little deeper. But I know you're here with me, so we'll keep it pushing. We're going to go into some of the more deeper experiences of your life. Explore some of these. You had said that you were facing a potential 10-year prison sentence at 23. It became a catalyst for your first period of sobriety. What did this moment teach you about the power of change on personal accountability?
I think the biggest thing is, well, it was the fear of that scared me sober, to be honest with you.
It's fair. Do that, yeah.
10 years is a long time, you know what I mean?
Yes, it is, yeah.
And in my life, in my experience, I'm always the one that gets made the example of. So out of this group of people that I got in trouble with, a lot of them are already on felony parole and all sorts of things. And
right.
It's my first time in trouble, dude, and I get the largest jail sentence, the most everything. Most people just got to go.
Yeah, you got a little slap on the wrist. Yeah.
I don't get away with much. But what it showed me is that if I was directing and focusing my energy into other things, dude, you can do anything, man.
Yeah.
And my mom would always say that growing up. Oh, you can be anything you want to be, and I'm like, yeah, sure, right, Mom. But it's true. And I even notice that now in my life, wherever I focus my energy and my time and my attention, that's what grows. I was just focusing on things that only brought death and destruction to my life. So I'm focusing all my energy into things that are killing me.
Yeah.
And that's the direction my life's going.
Yeah.
So it didn't take long. I was sober just for a little bit of time. Got my own business started, was successful with that for over 5 years.
Wow.
My first year in business, so for me, this is a big accomplishment. I grossed over $100,000. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a big deal.
Yeah,
that's a big deal.
Especially from being broke my whole life. You know what I mean? My child support takes 52% of my paycheck, so I'm getting less than half of the money that I'm earning.
Yeah.
So I was living at my parents' house forever.
Yeah.
Now I have financial freedom. I can do things that I want.
Yeah.
And there's something to be said about that, you know. I would say the biggest thing that I learned was just, wherever your energy flows, that's what grows.
Wow, that's so real, though. Oh, that's so real. Okay, yeah. During your 5 years of sobriety and business ownership, what did you discover about your potential that addiction had hidden from you?
I think addiction will always tell you that you're not good enough. And
so that's,
And I had these dreams and all of these things and things I wanted to do. I call them pipe dreams, you know what I mean? It's just I'm going to do all this stuff. And it's no, you're not. You know what I mean? There's tons of people that have great ambitions, super smart, could do anything, but that's keeping them in prison. And the thing about addiction, dude, is the doors are locked from the inside.
That's a profound statement.
Yeah.
Say that again. One more time. One more time, please.
The thing about addiction is the doors are locked from the inside.
From the inside.
Yep. And it's you have that. I mean, you can go at any time, but that's how it keeps you there.
Yeah.
And you know that, but that's also the lie that's in the truth, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
So, sorry, I lost train of thought.
It's okay.
I started thinking I could go different directions here.
No. It is. I think that is the thing that we all, if nothing else, that is the thing that keeps us from being the best versions of ourselves.
Absolutely.
And I am blown away. It's so profound to me that recognizing that in myself was what had changed a great deal of like my opportunities, what I believed in myself, and again, what I allowed myself to show up to was dictated completely around how I believed, what I believed of myself. And I would allow myself to accept just about anything because I didn't believe I was worthy of anything. And it is internally. If I was able to looking at it now, that statement alone is everything that I struggled with the most. I was locked out from the inside, from myself.
Yeah.
I was the one locking the doors that stopped me from being able to succeed. And I didn't recognize it because I was always in the perspective that it was outside. Everybody else was the reason why I wasn't succeeding. Everybody else was the reason why I wasn't doing well in my life. And that wasn't the case. Sure, you have people who on the occasion will go out of their way to cause strife with you. But if you're in the state of self-realization, if you're in the state of self-love and growth, there is nothing they can do. Because you're just... Whoop, no, I'm good. Whoop, no, I'm good. Got me. You tried to get me, you missed me. Sorry, I'm gonna remaneuver, and I'm just gonna keep trucking. And man, I will say that like it's gotten me through a lot of the conflicts that I've had at work. It's gotten me through a lot of the conflicts and the struggles that I've been dealing with just in general in my personal and my professional life. Like had I not found that, I would be at the whim of other people and how they feel. And I would not succeed.
Well, I think the thing to say about that too is that addiction feeds that insecurity. So it's just like now you're shut in, but you're also looking to everybody else for approval.
Yeah, yeah.
And so it's just like I don't know. It's just this like vicious cycle, you know, just feeds itself. And yeah, you just start to believe certain things about yourself, and especially being in that environment of people that you're in.
Yeah.
And I always used to be like, well, I'm going to go do drugs, but I'm going to find the good relationship, and I'm going to have trustworthy people. And it's like, you don't get to choose that. You know what I mean?
If you looked at it properly, the people that you're in that space, they're in that space because they're not trustworthy.
Well, and you have to accept all of that. I used to be unwilling to accept that. So it's like, well, I'm going to do this, but I'm going to pick and choose what I want, and you don't. You have to take the totality of everything that it involves. And when you realize that, and you realize what you're having to accept, that's when I became unwilling to accept it anymore. I'm just like, I don't want that. I don't want that for my life. I don't want that for me. It's not what I want.
Almost to the point, I'm not deserving of this anymore.
Yeah.
I don't deserve it. And
I think the biggest thing that I've kind of more recently realized, looking back on all these experiences, is because of the way I felt about myself when somebody would treat me poorly, especially in a relationship, I would then leave that relationship and punish myself more. You know what I mean? It's like, well, they started it, they didn't do a good enough job, so I'm going to finish it. And that
I'm going to finish myself off for them.
Well, yeah. Oh. But again, that's being fueled by these ideas and beliefs that I hold about myself based off of how other people have interacted with me or treated me.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. That is a lot. It's a lot. After relapsing due to prescribed pill medication, what important lesson do you think society or healthcare providers need to better understand about addiction and recovery? And we've dove in, and I know that you have provided this, and this is the space for it. This is, I think, a crux of a lot. And so I really am curious in your thoughts on this. I would love to share in some of this as well, but
I would say healthcare has gotten better about it now.
Okay. Okay.
So when I was prescribed that medication, so I had a shoulder dislocation. And maybe some of that's my fault. I didn't necessarily divulge my past, but at the same time, when you do that, then you're just cut off from anything.
Yeah.
So I do think that there is some necessity for some pain relief or some relief from certain things.
Right.
But it's a very thin line. So when I was prescribed that, they gave me like 2 different prescriptions. Each of them had like 3 refills on them, and I'm just like, and it's, dude, I was sober for so long at that point, I didn't even think about it. And the first time I took the medicine, I threw up everywhere.
Oh no!
And like I had to lay on the couch and close my eyes. Like, dude, I couldn't even move. But it took about a week for my tolerance to build to that, and then pretty soon I'm like, oh, okay, like I'm kind of liking the way I feel, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
So I grade my sobriety by abusing the prescription. Now I'm in this conflict. I'm like, well, I don't know if I'm sober or not. So you know me. So I'm like, I'm just gonna make it black and white. So just scrapped all my sobriety and just went into it. But there's a lot of guilt and shame that you carry in that. And I think kind of, and I know I'm getting away from your question here, but
It's okay.
I think that the issue that I personally had within myself, because I was accustomed to 12-step programming, so there's a lot of emphasis put on your sober time and what step you're on.
Yeah.
And so I had put a lot of value on my sober time, and when I lost that, that really kind of devastated me or took me down.
Yeah.
So I think it's just, for me, it would be placing my value in the right places. But getting back to your question, man, addiction's tough because it's not, I would say for me personally, I'm not doing it because I like the way that I feel, but it's an escape from the way that I'm feeling.
No, yep. Right. I'm not in a good place, and so I'm using this to get out of the good place or the bad place that I feel I'm in, but it only contributes to making me feel worse at the end of it anyway. Yeah.
And so that's the cycle. So, you sober up, and now you have all these issues or the problems still there.
Yep. Never really went away.
No.
Yeah.
And so the way I explain it is like, I see the flood coming, and I run and I grab my life jacket. You know what I mean? But that life jacket doesn't float.
No. It's not gonna. Yeah.
So and I guess now I can really clearly see it. Is as hard as it is to push through those things sober, man, I gain way more ground. I get a lot more done. It's just really uncomfortable and unpleasant in the moment. But those moments are temporary. They don't last. And some of that's just being willing to suffer through that. But the suffering that comes from going back to that is far greater than the suffering through it sober.
Yeah, God. And it's that the realization that I had to sacrifice in order to succeed, and that sacrifice was no different than the sacrifices I was making that were not allowing me to succeed, was like the light bulb that I think brought me out of where I was. Because we know that suffering is inevitable, and we are either going to suffer out of or suffer into. And it seems like there is more suffering into because we want to get out of the feeling and mask the conflict, not recognizing that the suffering into is only muddling. You're still going to have to come back and face it again. And almost all the time it's worse because you went down another storm and made it and just compounded on the thing. And so the suffering that is going to take to get out of it is going to be more hard, more difficult. But the moment you turn around and you look at the suffering, you start suffering to get out of it, it does. It feels like it's less and less difficult. Like yes, there's still momentary suffering, there's still momentary pain. But the pain that I've gotten more comfortable with, and I was talking to a friend about it, I've gotten more comfortable with the adversity and challenges now because they have been the things that I see that teach me how to do better than the suffering into that just perpetuated the same ugly stuff that I was doing anyway. And
Well, I think the reason that it's painful when you're trying to actually move through it is because you're growing, so it's painful to grow. And
it's just weird.
What I've realized, dude, is like I don't navigate life well. So it's like everybody's always waiting for life to get better, life to get easier, but life's life, dude, and like sometimes they're great, sometimes they're awful. It's when those awful times came, like I said, that's where I'm like, oh, the flood's coming, and
put on the
life preserver, and sink.
Yeah.
So now it's being willing to accept that life is life. I have to move through that the best way that I can. So now when these obstacles or these adversities come, I have to be willing to navigate that and to really try and move forward rather than like moving myself back or just taking myself out.
Yeah. Throughout the difficult decades following your relapse, what was one insight about personal resilience you gained, even amid the instability? Now, the life jacket perspective, but is that would you say that is what encompasses what are those things? Do you have them that you can define as?
I'd say the biggest thing is that I know about me, I never give up. So no matter what it is, whatever I'm focusing into, like I'll take it all the way to the end. Right, so if I'm in addiction, I'll take that all the way to the end.
The end of the line.
But what I realize is if I'm focusing that energy in a different, more positive direction, I'm going to take it that way too. So I think the biggest thing that I learned is I went through hell when I was in addiction, and I just kept beating my head against that brick wall.
Yeah.
And it's just boom, boom, day after day after day. Yeah. And it's but I persisted in that. Now, if I can just take a fraction of that energy and persist in something else, my life would be radically different. It would change, and it has. You know what I mean?
Right. No, I see where you're at. And that it solidifies a lot of what we just discussed and why that resilience for you seems to be so, because not everybody finds that thing. Not everybody is in a state of mind where they can sit and find the thing that is them, what I would consider your superpower, and then takes that and is able to hone it for their betterment. Instead, it does seem to go the other direction, where it's their superpower that they've been meant to find for themselves is the thing that's destroying themselves because they don't know it well enough. They haven't taken the time to understand it for themselves to be the benefit that it was meant to be. So that's awesome to hear. I appreciate you sharing that one. Having experienced strained relationships due to addiction, what has your journey taught you about the fragility and resilience of trust within families?
I would say that I'm just kind of a very trusting, open person. So at first I'm very quiet and reserved, but once I get to know you, man, I'm just ugh. And maybe I say or spill too much. Maybe I'm too honest, too open. And lots of times that's come back to hurt me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I would say lots of times I've just given my trust to the wrong people. It's not that people are out to get you or that you just have this, terrible, crappy life or your luck is bad. It's the people that you're engaging with and the ones that you're choosing to give your trust and your time to.
Yes.
So I would say the biggest thing that I've learned out of all of that is, man, I have a very small group of people, not even a group, maybe one or two people that I'll tell things to now.
Yeah.
People that have claimed to be my best friends. I'll tell them something personal or private, and then it's leaked all over here and all over there. And I mean, these are things that, and they're always, it's always twisted just a little bit.
Right.
So it's just a variation or a version of the actual truth.
Yeah.
But those things are damaging to my life. And they've caused me problems, and they've strained relationships, and people have said things that are untrue. So I'm very careful about who I divulge information to. And honestly, man, the way that you can really tell is try and celebrate a win with somebody that claims to be your friend, and see if they want to celebrate that with you or if they're jealous. Because lots of what I've been experiencing lately, man, is I'm having wins in my life.
Yeah.
They're not happy with that. They would rather see me suffering and struggling than doing better than them. And so I'm well, that's not a real friend. So I've scaled back on what I tell certain people. I keep more to myself, and I found that it's safe to share things with my parents. It's safe to share things with my brothers.
almost like it brought you back to the family or the element that was the main and original support.
Yes. And so, I have one friend that I can trust. You know what I mean? And I don't think you need more than that. It's okay, just to have some, maybe one or two solid people.
Yeah.
And then I have other people, so your circle gets tighter and closer as you move in. So it's just recognizing that.
Yes. Something about that. No, and I am grateful to hear, because it is such a real thing. You realize that sometimes the circles need to shrink, and you kind of start to see the people that actually are there for you and your benefit, or at least there to support the things that you've been wanting to do. And it does suck. It feels like you've got, these people that say that they're there and make those claims about being big supporters, and then you get that success and you become successful in something, and there's this weird animosity that you get from that. And I don't know if I feel like the only place I've recognized that for myself is in my professional life right now. I am the same person no matter what I am given, because I've seen what power can do to people, and my wants in where I am professionally now was to be that same person, be consistent. I don't want people to think that just because, hey, I'm your supervisor here, if I move up to another supervisor position over there, that I'm going to be different. And it's weird that when you don't change, but the other people change, and you have to recognize that, oh, now it's not because of you, it's because of how they see you that is different. And even if you're the same, even if you're the one out there, you're still fighting for them, but they see you and they're like, oh, no, you're not the same person anymore. It's like, but I am. And then you're trying to convince them. But if they're not willing to see it, it's like, what do you do?
I think what success does, and what you're talking about, is it's pulling their insecurities out of them. So now they're projecting that on you, you know what I mean?
We're dealing with the constant projection of other people's insecurities on a regular basis. Oh, that's such a real, yep.
And I think for me personally, where I've experienced this most recently is people think they're like, oh, you're so lucky, you have all the, I've had a lot of different things that I've done in my life. I've held really high positions in certain fields. And people just think I'm lucky, but what they don't see is all the time and effort that's spent in the dark, where no one's seeing and no one's looking.
Where they don't have access.
Yeah, dude, so with the shoes, for example, people just see the finished product.
Yeah.
And my buddy's like, well, just show the process. Well, dude, nobody wants to watch it. It's boring, you know what I mean? You want to watch 60 hours of me just, sitting there, fiddling with little things and, nobody would watch it, dude. I've tried. I've even time-lapsed, a painting, and nobody wants to watch it. The average view time's 5 seconds. They're like,
ew, work. Yeah. I don't want to watch work.
Yeah, people just want to see what it was and what it is.
Yeah.
Skip all the stuff in the middle. We don't care. But I'll spend. I have buddies that are out at the bar and partying and doing this and doing that.
Yeah.
And it's like I'm at home reading about sewing or researching materials and paint. And it's like that's what I'm doing on my Friday and Saturday.
Yeah.
But people don't see that. They just see all of a sudden, boom, there you are. You're in front of me. You got all this stuff going on, and you got lucky.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, dude, I spent 5 years learning how to do this, or I spent 2 years, or however long it is, and I put in countless hours. Can't count them. And you don't see the failures. You just see the results, the success. Dude, lots of times when I'm matching paint, I'll have maybe 12 pages from a notebook, just little tiny square swatches, just covered in paint.
Colors.
Because it's not a match yet. And maybe I spent 2 days doing that, trying to match a green for a business logo, you know what I mean?
Right.
I don't have the little paint mixer, I have to visually do that and figure it out myself. Shoe paints mix a little differently than regular acrylics.
I imagine, yeah.
So now you don't always get the color result that you're looking for. And
Right.
Dude, lots of times I've been mixing paint and just needs a touch of white, and I'm going to put it in, and then boom, spills and I ruin my whole match.
No.
Got to start all over,
It's that easy.
But that's the stuff that you don't see.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's so real. And I don't understand it. Like, everybody wants to see us at the top of the mountain, and then they get weird about it. But they never want to watch the process that it took to get to the top of the mountain and understand why we're there. Oh, yeah. And for what it's worth, I've tried really hard to figure out and define why and what that is. And I think you did bring a point. It brings the insecurities out from the person that they themselves may have never taken the time to reflect on, or had never been in a situation where they had to confront it until it comes up. Then that means our batteries died, and we're left closing out this episode the old-fashioned way. But I found this to be the blessing in disguise, because though there was a small fleeting moment of frustration, seeing the battery flatline mid-flow, what really landed was this. Equipment fails, and I may fail myself, but it doesn't mean the conversation has to because of it. In fact, I'd argue that this is the beauty of doing something real. Sitting across from someone like Micheal Middlen, peeling back the layers not just of his work, but of his soul, the weight of his story, the moments of vulnerability, of redemption, of choosing purpose after pain, those aren't just lost because the lens blinks out. What we're building here through Breakfast At is a practice in patience, in growth, and in learning. Not just learning how to better prepare a camera setup, though definitely on the checklist now, but potentially ways on how to prepare a space, how to hold it, where people can show up as they are. Micheal Middlen showed up fully, and for that, we're grateful. These conversations have weight. It's the kind of talk you carry with you long after the mics cool down. So to our listeners, thank you for being here. Thank you for continuing to show up with us, even when the lights go out, a battery dies, or the plans change, as that is what makes it beautiful. And if you're navigating your own uncertain chapter, let this serve as your reminder. You're not alone. You are not too late. And your next step, no matter how small, is still progress. Until we meet again, keep showing up for yourself and others, one meal and one conversation at a time. Breakfast At will return in a moment.